I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs. I have patterns for these punch needle, George and Martha, little pillow bowl fillers. And I wanted to make a companion pattern for a hooked rug. And when I was making the punch needle, the DMC floss comes in hundreds of different colors, so it was easy to find a flesh color to use for the skin. When we were hooking George and Martha, we had more trouble coming up with the colors. I have another video where I showed how I toned down his nose to get it to look good. Had enough of this flesh color here to do George's face, but nothing to do Martha's. As you can see, Martha's had a lot of work done here on her face. She's had multiple colors tried and nothing looks quite right. I didn't want to order dyes and have to wait for new dyes to come in, so I'm going to use my Cushions dyes that I have on hand, and I'm going to dye some natural colored wool, and I'm going to see if I can come up with a flesh-like color. I'm going to try a couple of the browns mixed with the pink for my first trial. So I'm going to try seal brown and golden brown. And I'm mainly just choosing colors that I have that I think will work together. And then I've got pink, which pink by itself is too dark. If I had this salmon, I would probably try just a small amount of the salmon, but I don't have any of that in my stash right now. And I've got these little tiny measuring spoons that I use for dyeing, and they start at 1/4 of a teaspoon and then go down to a 1/64 of a teaspoon. I think even a 1/64 is going to be too much. I'm going to dye 1/2 of a yard, and so I'm going to use about 1/2 of the 1/64 teaspoon of each of the browns. And then with the pink, I'm just going to do this 1/64 teaspoon, but a scant, so just not quite full of the pink dye. Little dye pot here, and I mix the colors in this, and then I will move them over to my big pot where I will dye the wool. All of my pots and utensils that I use exclusively for dyeing, and I've put about 1 cup of water in this littler pot, and I'm going to bring it to a boil. You want to be really careful when you're using these dyes, and you want to wear a mask and not get any on your hands. If you're prone to getting it on your fingers, you will want to wear some gloves. I've got my 1/64 teaspoon ready. I'm going to use it and mix up the dye. I did shake it also, but I want to make sure that I get everything all mixed up. So there's about 1/2. And I'm going to put that in my simmering water, and that is the golden brown. I'm going to take a paper towel and clean off my measuring spoon real good. And then I will take the seal brown and mix it up real good. And then again, I want about 1/2 of this tiny teaspoon. When dealing with such small amounts, it's really a little bit of an approximation. I'm going to put that in. Again, I want to take and clean off my measuring spoon real good. I don't want to get any of the colors from one dye into the other dye package. And then this is the pink, and mix it up. I'm going to use almost a 1/64 of a teaspoon and pour that in. And I'm going to stir it and let it simmer until the dye is completely dissolved. I'm going to pour my mixture into my big dye pot. Really dilutes it a lot. I want to bring this up to just almost a boil. The water is almost to a boil now, and I have a 1/2 of a yard of cream colored wool that I have soaked in some water so it is completely saturated. And I'm just going to dip it in there, and I'm going to stir it well. I want to make sure that this is well stirred, because the flesh color, I don't want it to be spotty. I want it to be solid. I'm going to let this simmer for about 30 minutes. I'm now going to take some plain vinegar and pour a little bit in there, about 1/3 of a cup or so, and stir that in. And I'm going to let that simmer a little bit longer. You can see here that the water is now clear, so I'm going to take it to the sink and I will take it out of the water and rinse it. You can see here I have another cream soaking for another trial, and I have this one that I just dyed. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the coloring. Now I'm going to rinse the wool until the water runs clear. Now the water is running clear pretty quickly with this dye process because it's such a light color. If I had dyed something red, it might take a little bit longer to get the water to run clear. Now I'm going to wring out the excess water and then I will hang it outside to dry. Here's that wool. It is now dry, and you can see here George is a little bit pinker. This is a little bit peachier, which is not bad. I like the color. I think it would work pretty well for flesh. I'm going to go ahead and try a couple more things though and see if I get something I like better. So next I'm going to try mixing the medium brown with the pink. So I will again use the 1/64 teaspoon, and I'm going to fill it halfway with the medium brown and then halfway with the pink. So a total dye will be 1/64 teaspoon. Okay, here is the second one. It's finished, it's dry. You can see that it is pretty similar in color to this first one, but a little bit lighter. And it's still just a little bit peachier than the face color that we used for George. So now I'm going to have one final trial, and I'm going to use medium brown again that I used last time. But this time I'm going to use, instead of pink, I'm going to use rust. It's a little bit darker right here. So I'm going to use rust and a medium brown. And again, I'm going to use half of the 1/64 teaspoon. So about 1/128 teaspoon. Okay. This one is dry now, and it actually turned out very mottled and variegated. I don't know why. I did everything like I normally do when I don't want mottled, but it turned out mottled, which is not bad for rug cooking. So there it is, and here is the second one. So you can see this one is quite a bit darker, redder than this one, which makes sense that it would be, since it was a darker red color. So this is the first one I dyed, the second one I dyed, and then the third one I dyed. Really, any of them would work okay for a face. I don't think I'm going to use this third one. It's a little maybe too red in spots. A little too pinky. I don't want her to look like she has a weird sunburn. So I will probably either use this one or this one. Very similar. It's a little bit darker. We did end up using the first wool that we dyed on Martha's face. And as you can see, it's a little bit darker, maybe peachier than George is. But they both look good. They both are good flesh colors, I think. That they complement each other very well. And I'm very pleased with the outcome. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Bye.